Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect, Ba'ashem Achak. My name is Yakabu from Plaintables Camp. This is bilingual Jews in the New Testament. It's the title of the video. I'm going to start off with, I asked ChatGPT to why is Alexander the Great of Macedon considered Greek? And I also asked, using King James Bible Online.org Apocrypha, in summary, describe events that the Jew Israelites went through that Hellenized them and made them adopt Greek culture. So you can do that with ChatGPT. I should have told it to list scriptures. But we'll start off with this. All right. Culture, identity, and language. The Macedonian aristocracy, including Alexander, spoke a form of Greek and Greek was used in their administration and written records. Alexander himself was tutored by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. He was an Israelite, exposing him to Greek philosophy, literature, ideas. He also promoted Greek as the primary language across his empire, forecasting Hellenistic culture. So that's how the so-called white man adopted a different culture that was not his own. All right. Religious and mythological ties. Macedonian rulers, including Alexander, traced their ancestry to the Greek gods and heroes. So that's a myth. All right, they're really Edomites. Alexander claimed descendant from Heracles, a Greek hero and demigod, as well as Achilles. His connection helped him gain acceptance among the Greeks. Political relations with Greece. Although Greeks initially saw Macedonians as semi-barbaric due to their different dialect and customs, all right, the Macedonian king sought acceptance in the Greek world. Alexander's father, Philip II, unified Greece under Macedonian leadership through the League of Corinth, with Macedonian at the head. This gave Macedon at the head. This gave Macedon a leading role in the Greek world and allowed Alexander to portray his conquest as a pan-Hellenic mission against Persia. Spreading Greek culture. Alexander conquest resulted in the spread of Greek culture across vast empire, blending with local traditions to create Hellenistic world. This culture influence solidified his association with Greece historically, as he spread Greek ideas, language, and governance practices far beyond Greece's original borders. All right. Alexander the Great is therefore remembered as both Macedonian and a figure who advanced Greek civilization, blending these identities into his legacy. All right. And he did that initially through war. He conquered the Greek city-states, and he became a Greek. All right. So that's how the so-called white man will adopt your culture, by war, using your language, and then he replaces you. So now the Greeks are known as being so-called white people, right? That's why Vocab Malone and others believe that when you see Gentile and Greeks, it's talking about so-called white people, all right? Because he mixed himself amongst the Greek city-states. And you had Israelites already scattered in Greece already, in Sparta and other parts of Greece, before Alexander, all right? Because Alexander, he just took over Greece. He took over what was already there. All right. And then you had, during Alexander's time and his generals under him, compelled Israelites to be Greeks. All right. So that fully got Israel into the Greek customs. They were already there, and you had Alexander's generals under him compel Israelites to be Greek. All right. So then I put in using King James Bible Online.org Apocrypha. In summary, describe events that the Jew Israelites went through that Hellenized them and made them adapt Greek culture. So we'll read it through. The Hellenization of Jewish Israelites, as depicted in the Apocrypha, particularly in 1 and 2 Maccabees, involved a series of events that led them to adopt elements of Greek culture, often under pressure or corrosion from Greek rulers. Now, we just read that these Greek rulers were Macedonian. All right. They were Caucasian Edomites. All right. Because that by this time, they already assumed the identity as Greek. Here's a summary of main events that contributed to their Hellenization. Greek conquest and influence. After Alexander the Great's conquest of Near East Greek culture, the language began to spread across territories, including Israel. Greek rulers promoted Hellenistic culture through policies and practices aimed at integrating conquered peoples into a unified Greek-dominated society. Because before it was, different states that were not united, but they had the common culture. Antiochus IV Epiphanes' reign, the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes was particularly aggressive in Hellenizing his territories. He sought to unify his kingdom by enforcing Greek customs and outlawing traditional Israelite practices such as circumcision, Sabbath observance, and dietary laws. Yeah, made him eat the pork. The abomination of desolation. Antiochus went so far as to desecrate the temple in Jerusalem, installing an altar of Zeus within the sacred space and sacrificing swine, which was considered an unclean animal by the law. This act of sacrilege was a direct assault on the Israelites' religious practices, forcing the people either to comply with Greek customs or face persecution. And some of them were made examples of them put to death, and some of them were just harassed and beaten. Pressure on leadership. Some Israelite leaders, especially the more Hellenized upper class, adopted Greek customs to gain favor with the ruling authorities and social standing. They built gymnasiums in Jerusalem, a key element of Greek social life, and abandoned their ancestral laws to appear more Greek. This division created tension within the Israelite community between those who embraced Hellenistic culture and those who remained faithful to our traditions. Maccabean revolt. The Hellenistic pressure led to resistance, culminating in Maccabean revolt. Judas Maccabeus and his followers fought to restore tradition, Israelite worship, to resist the enforced Hellenization. The revolt eventually led to the rededication of the temple, that's a feast of dedication, and a brief period of independence. While Hellenization efforts were met with resistance, the influence of Greek culture remained in certain aspects of our life. Some writings, philosophies, and customs absorbed Greek influences, leaving a lasting impact on the culture. So, in summary, that's how our ancestors became Hellenized. We go to 2 Maccabees 6:4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was defiled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feast, or to profess himself at all that he was a Jew. All right. Now we go to Acts the 6th chapter. It talks about the deacons that were chosen to minister to the poor of Israel that needed, tithes and offerings from the heads It says, and in those days there was a murmuring. In those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews because their widows were neglected in their daily administrations. We got Hellenistas, derives from Helen, which one who imitates the manner and customs or worships the Greeks and used Greek tongue, used in the New Testament of Jews born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. It's used in the New Testament as no matter where they were born, whether they were born in Israel, if they were Hellenized and spoke Greek and they adopted some of their customs. One of the titles they would call was Hellenistas, and Hellenist or Greek-speaking Jew, a Grecian. It says, one who imitates the manner and customs and worship of the Greeks. All right. Or you're going to call them Gentiles. All right. It doesn't have to be like hyper specific every time you describe an Israelites that were no uncircumcised or adopted a different custom. You can just call them Gentiles. That's like a blanket word for the Israelites that went off from our traditions, our Israelite traditions. All right. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them and said, it is not reason that we should leave the word of the power and serve tables. Administration, diaconia or diaconia, service, execute commands of others. The ministration of those who render to others the offices of Christian affection, especially those who help meet the need by either collecting or distributing charity. All right, that's what that is. That's what it means. Wait tables. Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men of honest report, for the Holy Spirit and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business, that we may give ourselves continuously to prayer and ministry of the word. All right, so there were men chosen. So these were the Hellenized Israelites, and they were all bilingual. All right, or it's it's giving them extrapolating. They were all bilingual, or at least most of them were, and saying please, and this saying pleased the whole multitude. They chose Stephen, a man full of faith of the Holy Spirit, and Philip, and Procurius, and Nicanor, and Timon, and Parmenius, and Nicholas, the proselyte of Antioch. So these are all Greek names. They come from the Greek. All right, and these are all Israelites or Jews, all right, that took on Greek names. All right. And we know Philip definitely was a Jew. Go to Acts 7. So Philip is basically like what was the head. It would named him first, and it recorded his mighty acts. Then Stephen's defense. Then said the high priests, are these things so? And this also proves something very you should take note of. That even though they were, they classified as deacons. It's a word you can use, deacons, to weigh they were in charge of the charity. They were still teachers. All right, and Stephen example fully proves that. All right, so they had different offices. So they were teachers, and they were in charge of the charity, the distribution. All right. So you have more than one job. And he said, men, brethren, fathers, hearken, the glory of thy father appeared unto our father Abraham, which was in Mesopotamia before he dwelled in Haran, Haran in the Hebrew. Or it might be Haran in the, we look it up in actual Hebrew. Let's look it up real quick. I want to get my pronunciation wrong. Yeah, Quran. Sorry, so the English got it right. We're more close. Okay. So my point here is, I'm not going to go through Stephen's whole exhortation, but yeah, he invokes our fathers. So Stephen was a Jew, all right, from one of the tribes of Israel. All right, went to Mesopotamia. He said, "Get you out of that country." All right, then, and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph to Egypt. All right, let's go down. So the point is that those Israelites, those deacons, those 7 deacons were Israelites that had Greek names because their ancestors, their family line adopted the Greek culture. So they were practically Gentiles. All right. It just, it's our book. You don't have to name the name of every type of Israelite. Except sometimes to put an emphasis on this specific person for edification. But salvation is only for Israel. That's evident in the law, and it's evident in the prophets, and in the New Testament. It's evident. So these were bilingual Greek, Hebrew speaking Israelites, and Stephen was speaking in the Hebrew. All right. And he had a Greek name. All right. Go back to 6, go down, because it's, so he started disputing with the Israelites that followed the law, that didn't get caught up in Hellenization. Then then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and the Cyrenians and the Alexandrians, and of them of Sicily, Cilicia, which is pronounced with a k sound, not a s sound, and Asa and Asia, disputing with Stephen. And all right, so these are the Israelites that didn't get caught up in the Hellenization. They stuck more closely to keeping the laws and the prophets. All right. And then you had the other side, when you see a Greek name, they more so got caught up in the Hellenization. All right. But they kept the faith, even with the Greek name. So they were more open-minded to the Greek customs, but they stayed, close to, the laws and the prophets and the faith. Right. And there's no different classifications, but the point is they're all Israelites. They're all Jews, with different classifications. All right. So it's clearly evident that Stephen was an Israelite, a Jew Israelite, and so if that's likely that he was a Jew Israelite, that means all the other ones with the Greek names were all Jews or all Israelites. All right. And I'll end it with this. This is Ephesians 2:12. That at the time, because the Ephesians were Israelites, they were Hellenized Israelites, that at that time ye were without Mashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without the power in the world. All right. So they became alienated. The Israelite Gentiles became alienated because they weren't keeping the laws. All right. Look up alienate. Let's reconcile. It's further down. Alienate. To be shut out from one's fellowship and intimacy. All right. So that's important. So they became alienated. Alienate means you were once, friends, and you became enemies. All right. You became estranged, like an estranged spouse. Go down to the 16th verse. Well, it says having abolished in the flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments containing ordinances, for to make in himself of twain or two one new man, so making peace, and that he might reconcile both unto the power in one, both by the cross and having slain the enmity thereby. So reconcile means to, we got apokatalasso. Apokatalasso. It says to reconcile completely, to reconcile back again, to bring back to a former state of harmony, to reconcile fully. Now, you know, the anti-Christians, including the Vocab and others, they'll try to say that means the same thing as it means simply to comfort. No, it doesn't mean simply to comfort. It means to bring back a former relationship. That's what it means. They're not interchangeable words. All right. Conciliate means simply to comfort, and reconciliate means bring back to a state of harmony, to bring back to a state of comfort. All right. So the Israelites, this is only an Israelite book, so you don't have to say reconcile all the time. You can say reconcile, and you can say console or conciliate when you break the word down. So it doesn't have to mention Jew or Israelite every single time, because you already know who it's talking about. All right. If I'm writing a book to my family, I don't have to mention my father's name every time. Or I can just use it interchangeably. I can say his name, and then I can call him father, or I can call him, say, the men that came to Corinth. All right. And you know who they are because it's the heading is to the Israelites. All right. So we know it's being the relationship between the Israelite circumcision and the uncircumcision is being reconciled. All right. And I put in, which you can just put in a dictionary and find the same thing out, the words reconcile and console have different meanings and uses, even though they sound similar. All right. So it's reconcile meaning to restore a relationship, to bring people or ideas back into harmony. So that means the Gentiles would have to have already been given the laws and promise of the kingdom of heaven, and Israelites would have to be coexisting peacefully, everybody keeping the law together from the beginning, and that's not so. All right, so the word reconcile is not the same meaning as console. Right now, it says both in the scriptures. All right, but the point is that the heading is to reconcile. All right, once you got the understanding, you can just use the word console. All right, or equivalent word. And so console just simply means to comfort. It doesn't mean like to bring back to a former state of harmony, like reconciliate, or reconcile. All right. So in short, reconcile is about mending relationships or differences. All right. While console is about comforting someone in distress. All right. Then I put alienate. You pretty much looked it up. Strange. So they were the Israelite Gentiles were alienated because of the law. They didn't keep the laws, and the circumcision looked at them like they were basically dogs, like trash. And when you break this word down, apokatalasso, all right, it means to bring back to a former state of harmony. All right, you break the word down. We got apo, means from, out by. Let's go break the word down. Katalasso, which means to change coins, equivalent value, to reconcile those who are variant, to return to favor with, we reconcile one, to receive one into favor. All right. And that's how outline is of biblical usage, where it's used. Reconciled. Let's break the word down farther. We got kata, according to, against, alongside of, alasso, to change, to exchange one thing for another, to transform. Yeah, so they're coming into the fold. The Israelite foreigners are coming into the fold. All right, so I'll leave that there. Hope this video was edifying. Shalom to the next one.